Welcome to this week's episode of the Baseball Together podcast. Today we have the Pirates calling up another catcher, weekend sweeps, and the Phillies Mount Rushmore right now.
9+ Us presents the Baseball Together podcast with your hosts Blackjack Brad and Kansas City Little Big Briggy Blue Eyes. And now, Baseball Together.
Welcome, baseball family, to this week's episode of the Baseball Together podcast. I am Brad. I will be driving this ship, and co-driving this ship will be our co-captain, Brig. How are you today, Brig?
Uncomfortable. How are you, Brad?
A little uncomfortable. A lot of captaining and driving, but anyway. I don't know if that was also conscious because we're leading with the Pirates this week or what. But anyway, let's get in and talk about the Pirates, Brig. Shall we?
Okay, I love talking about Pirates.
Me too. What about these Pirates? So the Pittsburgh Pirates have called up their number one overall draft pick from the 2021 draft. That's pretty quick. 2 years is all. 1 full year in the minors is all he got. His name is Henry Davis. He's primarily a catcher. He was drafted out of Louisville. Where he played his college ball. He's 23 years old, and he jumped 3 levels now this season alone. He started the year in Double-A, and then he went and played. He was in Triple-A for just 13 days before they called him up, which I don't know if they, like, organizationally, they're like, we need to put him in Triple-A just as a formality, you know, but, like, a lot of guys make the jump from Double-A to the big leagues, like, especially your, like, top guys. So I don't know if, like I said, it was a formality. They were just kind of waiting to see how he did against veteran pitching, whatever. Anyway, played 13 games in right field this year as well, which is where he's actually starting tonight. And, Brig, the Pirates are underway against the Cubs. And so far, he is the only guy on the team to get a hit.
You're kidding me.
So he got his first big league hit out of the way, and is the only Pirate to record a hit so far tonight, as of this recording.
Wow. That's awesome.
So he could be a legit pickle. We don't know. We'll see. It's awfully early, right?
Yeah.
Awfully early. Very small sample size. But I think I don't know. Jason Hayward also hit a home run on his first at bat, so we don't know. Anyway.
He sure did.
But the Pirates are going to be keeping 3 catchers on their roster instead of optioning one of them or DFAing somebody. Instead, they optioned infielder Mark Mathias to AAA, and then they DFA'd pitcher Elijah Villalobos. So a couple of moves there to bring old Henry Davis onto the roster. But my question to you, Brig, is since he started this year in AA and then spent a minimal amount of time in AAA, like, do you think he's ready, or is this a little early? Could this kind of stunt his development going to the big leagues too early, or do you think he'll be fine?
Nobody knows. I don't know. If I were to speculate, my meaningless prediction would be that, he's hit. I'm just looking him up right now. He's hit at Double-A. He had 187 plate appearances in Double-A and is responsible for 25 runs off 42 hits. In Triple-A, 10 games. That's what Baseball Reference has. 10 games, 45 plate appearances, 4 runs off 10 hits. So it's a pretty consistent ratio without doing the math that I don't want to do.
The eyeballing,
it's a pretty consistent ratio.
Yeah.
It does. So, we'll see. Like we talk about all the time, AAA pitching is pretty good most of the time.
Right. Yeah.
And if you can hit AAA pitching, there is a difference, but it's indicative of what you can do at the big league level. And he's already got a hit tonight.
A lot of times. Yeah, it is. Yeah. And I think, honestly, if we had talked about the Pirates 5 years ago and they made this move, we'd be like, uh-oh, they ruined him. They're going to ruin him. But at this point where things are going the way that they are, I don't think they would have made this move if they didn't think he could contribute to this team. Right?
And if he's their sort of up and coming guy, you gotta, and he can play behind the plate and out in the right field. You gotta wonder if they're not thinking, okay, no matter what happens this year, he's going to be one of our core guys moving forward. Let's let him feel all this juice and learn from these veterans and understand what it takes to stick at this level, so that he can maybe carry some of this mojo next year and the year after and the year after and whatever that turns into for them.
Right. Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. Absolutely. And I wonder if some of it is like get him in with Andrew McCutchen, who I don't know if he'll be back next year, but I assume that once he retires, like I would think he would maintain some kind of position with the Pirates because he seems to love it there. Right.
Yeah.
And so, but at the same time though, like I would want to get my top prospects in with Andrew McCutchen in the clubhouse with him and being like, pick his brain as much as you can because this guy's got it figured out.
Well, I just think that's what they did with Jeter in, was it 95, right? He sat the bench and they called him up and he didn't do anything. But man, he learned a ton.
He's in the background of Alex Rodriguez highlights in 95. It's the thing,
exactly.
But he's sitting in the dugout. That's the thing that's funny about Jeter.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. The fact that they're starting him is pretty great.
Yeah, good for him. I'm excited for him. I'm excited for the Pirates this year. We talked about it in the offseason. They've got too many good players to be bad, and I'm glad that they're finally good. It's a lot of fun, and it's very exciting.
I agree.
All right, let's go on and talk about something. I've decided this is something I like talking about is weekend sweeps because it's always interesting to me to see teams that get swept over the weekend, or even just in like a week series. There were some that we expected, right? Like the Braves over the Rockies. Kind of expected the Marlins over the Nats.
Yeah, I would say so.
One thing with me is that I always say it's hard to sweep somebody. It's hard to beat somebody 3 days in a row, right? Like you take the first two in a series and that Sunday afternoon game, it's kind of weird because like anything can happen on Sunday afternoon. Everybody's up and the bats are awake and everything, but the Marlins went ahead and did it. They swept the Nats. They're now 10 games over 500 for the first time since 2011. And they're about to go. They're looking like they're going to go 11 games over 500 by beating the Blue Jays tonight. So keep your eye on the Marlins. I think we mostly kind of expected the Phillies to sweep the A's, despite speculating about the rage-fueled heater, right?
Yeah. I think I wasn't convinced that they were going to sweep Philly or that Philly was going to sweep Oakland. I wasn't convinced. I thought that maybe there was a chance that this rage-fueled, whatever sort of tear they've been on, where they're sticking it to everybody they can, would come through. And the Phillies have been struggling a little bit, so I wasn't convinced, but I was glad to see it.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like I said, 2 out of 3 I think makes sense most of the time with these. Getting 3 is tough, but they went ahead and they got 3. Yeah. The biggest surprises to me, though, like I was not expecting the Red Sox to sweep the Yankees. Nope.
Bro.
Nope, was not.
And 2 games on Sunday.
And I think that helped. I think that helped the Red Sox, honestly. I think it did. The doubleheader, because it was in Boston, right?
It was in Boston. And it was a day-night doubleheader. Saturday got rained out.
The day-night doubleheader on Sunday helps the home team, and I think that helped the Red Sox there. Also, the Yankees don't have Judge. That certainly doesn't help.
Bro, they're like 9 and 13 or 15 or something without Aaron Judge. It's banana pancakes is what it is. He should only be responsible for a certain percentage of that team, but right now it's feeling like 55, 60%.
That's the thing, is the dude gets the plate 4 times a game. How much of an impact does he have?
Well, and I don't know, man. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. And Stanton can't hit the ball to save his life. Donaldson can't hit the ball to save his life. Rizzo still gets hit by pitches, so he's got that going for him, but that's about it. And all these guys are trying to pull their weight. And you know who's DJ LeMahieu boggles my mind right now. Everybody thinks he's hurt. That's how disgusting his plate appearances look. Is something actually wrong?
So that's what happened to J.P. Crawford last year for the Mariners. That he stunk for the last 2 months of the season. And everyone's like, "Oh, trade J.P. He's washed." I was like, "No, I'm pretty sure he's hurt." And then it came out at the very beginning of this year that he came back from a back injury early, and he was playing those last couple months hurt. And it's like,
yeah,
there you go. So he might be.
Well, he and everybody else is insisting that he's not hurt. The other thing is that you know who the most consistent guy on the field right now is? It's IKF. Isaiah Kiner Falefa.
Wasn't he public enemy number 2 last year, only behind Aaron Hicks?
Yeah. Yeah. And Higgy was probably the third, depending on which part of the season you were talking about him. But now see, IKF he's platooning in the infield, he's platooning in the outfield. I mean, he hits the ball. He's not a power guy, but he's not expected to be. He can hit for power every once in a while, but that's not his primary modus operandi. This guy is a revelation, and the fact that he's willing to give up his shortstop position to a rookie that is coming along, by the way, there's still some struggles, but he's coming along. And they believed in IKF enough and have been moving him around with reckless abandon, and he's performing. Ugh, bro, he's my favorite storyline of the whole season right now. And Judge and everybody else's failures have just made his highlight reel look even better.
It's crazy. It's so funny to watch guys year from year like that.
Yeah.
But also other sweeps we had, though, I think the most shocking of the weekend was actually there were two that were really surprising. The Reds over the Astros. We'll get to the Reds a little bit more here in a minute, but the Reds swept the Astros. I was like, we both picked the Reds, right? You picked them Friday, I picked them Saturday. We were like, they're gonna, and I was thinking like they're gonna take at least 2 from the Astros. I was not expecting to sweep, much less a blowout in one of those games. Insane. Yeah. The Reds are the hottest team in baseball right now, have won 8 in a row. Good for them. Good for them.
I picked them on Friday and you picked them on Saturday. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And Ellie De La Cruz did steal a base on Saturday. He didn't on Friday because he didn't play, but he did steal a base on Saturday. So cha-ching, cashed in on that, by the way.
Oh my gosh.
That was very exciting. Good. And then the most shocking of the weekend was the Giants over the Dodgers. Holy cow. The Giants moved above the Dodgers in the standings for the first time. Oh, sorry. This is the first time they've swept the Dodgers.
The first time they swept the Dodgers
2012
in a decade.
That's insane.
Bro, it's so funny. You know what's funny? I hate it for the Dodgers fans, but I love it for us because we have been calling for a dismantling of that team for at least a year. Yeah. And here we get proven right. And I just want to do that. I told you so dance so hard. And some guys are still killing it. Like Freddie is still killing it, and that's great. Mm-hmm. But that's otherwise they're having a hard time being consistent.
Right. Oh, and Mookie Betts this weekend. He's like, if I'm in the All-Star game, I'll do the home run derby, and so it's kind of he's gonna be there, right? Name recognition above anything else, despite because he's still having a pretty good year.
Not bad.
He'll be there,
great, but not bad.
Right. Not great by his standards, I think.
Not great by mine. He's on my fantasy team, and I consider dumping him about every week. Joey Gallo earns me more points than friggin' Mookie Betts does.
Well, yeah, there you go. Yeah. But no, the Dodgers are baffling, absolutely baffling. They should be way better than they are. And this is the thing, too, that's funny about the Dodgers. I think we talked a little bit about this before, is that they're kind of like integrating their young and up-and-coming like prospects into this team. Like they have Miguel Vargas and what's his name? Outman. I can't remember his first name right now. But anyway, those two guys are supposed to be really good. Like Outman could potentially – I don't know that he'll outdo Corbin Carroll, but he'll compete for sure for Rookie of the Year with Corbin Carroll.
Yeah.
So they have two pretty good rookies there. And then they got some more guys that they can kind of start to work in from their farm system. It's like you could get more if you traded off your old guys.
Yeah.
Because it's clearly not working right now.
It's not. And the rest of the league needs them. That's the other thing, too, is those guys are going to find homes other places if the Dodgers will just let them go. And then that could really shake things up hard.
The Dodgers could be like the spoilers of the league by sending off their stars.
Totally.
I don't know. I don't think they will this year because I think they're just going to be like, we have these guys. We're always going to be in it. But you reach a point where it's just going to be like, it's not working anymore, fellas.
If they
break up the band.
Oh, man, if they broke up the band and they started farming guys out at the deadline, it would be pandemonium.
Could you imagine a fire sale from LA? Oh my gosh.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that'd be the most exciting trade deadline.
It would be.
In years.
And if San Diego did the same thing, can you imagine if independently San Diego and LA start shopping all their talent? Oh my God. How did you handle it?
I'd lose my mind.
Everybody's farm system would explode because they would be shipping them all to the West Coast.
Yeah. Yep.
It'd be like, give me Juan Soto. Give me, I don't care who it is. I want him.
That would be bananas. That would be the best trade deadline we've seen in a long time. It'd be awesome.
I agree. Because usually at the trade deadline we get these onesie twosies, these all-star dudes.
Well, last year we were all handcuffed by the Soto deal for so long.
Exactly.
We waited for like 3 weeks for the Soto deal, and then it goes down finally. It's like, oh, but there's a hitch. Now there's this, and then finally, the rest of the dominoes fell. But if this stuff starts happening in like the beginning of July, or around the trade or around the All-Star game, then things would really start to line up and fall in place, and that would be amazing.
Well, the Aaron Judge one and the Mike Trout one a few years ago, it's always this big one headliner name, and I want to see 8 or 10.
I think we all do.
Yeah,
it'd be good for baseball, though. Honestly,
it would be. That's right.
Yeah, I think it'd be good for baseball. Anyway, let's move on.
All right,
let's talk about the Reds again. They activated Joey Votto from the IL. He hasn't played yet this season. And I don't even remember what his injury was at this point. I think it was a hip or an oblique.
No, it was aliens.
Aliens. That's right. Yes, aliens. Yeah. So they DFA'd pitcher Kevin Herget and also placed pitcher Hunter Green on the 15-day IL with hip pain. This is the thing about Hunter Green is the dude's record doesn't look good. I don't care about pitchers' records. Hunter Green is a great pitcher. He's really, really good.
He's a solid pitcher for sure.
He really is, and they're going to miss him. I hope he gets, for the Reds' sake, I hope he comes back at the 15 or maybe 20 days because they're going to need him around if they're going to keep playing this well consistently for that long. But as far as Joey Votto goes, I'm like on the tip of my tongue this close to calling him Joey Gallo because we haven't talked about Joey Votto in so long.
Yeah.
Anyway, Joey Votto hit 167 with 2 home runs and 5 RBIs in 11 games with the AAA Louisville Bats. Not good, but I think they're going to be forgiving for Votto because he's old guy and also a staple in Cincinnati.
Excuse me, has been a staple. Not is a staple.
Has been, right. Has not been this year.
Yeah. Right. And maybe has been is the plaque that he brings to the clubhouse.
Right.
Above his locker.
Honestly, with his chest set.
Yeah. Exactly. And a maple leaf.
Yeah. I don't know what he's going to do to this team coming in here. I don't know if he's going to help or hurt or be neutral. Like, what do you think, Brig? Do you think is he just going to kind of be the Oracle? Like,
bro, they have found the Oracle. That's the problem. So why would you risk any movement at this point? I wouldn't risk anything. And I don't care that it's this guy, Joey Votto. I don't care. I want either bring him into the clubhouse and watch him closely so that he doesn't poison the water hole, or don't bring him up at all. I'm nervous. I like everything they got going on.
I think Joey Votto is a good clubhouse guy. I think he's part of the reason that a few years ago we were able to say the Reds have never made losing look so much fun.
That's true.
Because he's lighthearted. He's got a really good sense of humor. Dude is friggin' hilarious. I'm sure if they just said, you know what, things are really working right now. We don't super need your bat in the lineup. Can you be available to pinch hit? Maybe we'll DH you twice a week just so you can get some reps, but we want you to pinch hit if we need.
Well, and come in and teach these guys, right? Like just be a behind the scenes, kind of like a backup catcher, right? And just hang out and mentor. Because if he's batting 167 in AAA, that has got to be their reasoning, is mentoring.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and also I feel like another thing is respect because he
Sure.
is stuck through some terrible years in Cincinnati, absolutely terrible years
Fact.
in Cincinnati. And so they cannot bring him back now from an injury when they're winning and be like, sorry, Joey, don't need you. Thanks for the memories. Right. Like,
I
that
know
would
they
be
can't.
so
They should, but they
disrespectful.
can't.
It would be
Yeah, I
so
know.
disrespectful if they traded him off. They've got to bring him in and just like find a spot for him, like reserve him a spot on the bench or something, just so he can ride this out and like get into the playoffs and make a run because I
Yeah.
think the Reds could do it.
They could if things go
You
the way
know,
they're going now.
yeah, things continue at this rate because
it's been almost a decade since the Reds have won this many games in a row. In 2012, they won 10 in a row. That's the last time that they've gotten close to this.
crazy,
So it needs to
absolutely
stay
crazy.
right where it is. And if they can take it to the Astros of all teams, and I know they've been shaky this year, but still, that's I feel like we should give them more credit for that. And a sweep.
Right. Yes, I absolutely agree with you. Like, and we've been saying this is that like, yes, the Astros have been down this year, but they're still the defending World Series champs. So you have to give them some level of respect because a lot of those guys on that team still, despite the struggles, they're still a tough team to beat. For them to beat them 3 in a row over the weekend, it's a big deal.
Yeah, I agree.
So it'll be interesting though the role that they put Joey Votto in when he comes back. Keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
Okay. Speaking of guys coming back from the IL, Pete Alonso is back from the IL, well ahead of schedule. He got hit by a pitch and got a wrist sprain and a bone bruise and lots of pain. And I would be out for the year if it was me. That was on June 9th. He's coming back. They thought he was going to miss 3 to 4 weeks, and he missed just 8 games. Is this too soon, or is it like, yeah, if you can swing the bat, like come back because we need you?
That's what it is. It's a desperation move.
But I'm worried that it's too soon. He's going to re-aggravate that wrist, or he's not going to be effective.
Yeah, it could be either way, or he really is good to go, and he's going to come back and swing the bat the way we need the Mets need him to. I'm not going to say we, but the Mets need him to swing the bat, and
I need him to. He's on my fantasy squad.
Yeah. Well, baseball needs him to. Baseball needs him. He's a principal selling point in the larger economics of the game and the personalities, and that's just a fact. So I'm sad that he's out at all, and I'll be really disappointed if he comes back and struggles, because then I will have to blame the club, which I'm already blaming them for about everything right now. So that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, it's another guy to keep an eye on for a different reason. Just because we see guys come back all the time just because they're like, I got to play, I'm ready to play. Nobody wants to get Wally pipped, right? So you come back as soon as you can, and sometimes that's too early, and that wrist could be a real problem the rest of the year if it's too early. So
yeah,
I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
All right. Former Cardinals third baseman David Freese declined induction into the team's Hall of Fame this weekend with some Twitter statements and stuff like that. But this is one thing he specifically said. He said, "This is something that I have given an extra amount of thought to, humbly, even before the voting process began. I am aware of the impact I had helping this team bring great memories to the city I grew up in, including the 11th championship, but this honor means more to me." And then the team president, Bill DeWitt III, responded and said, "Although we are disappointed that David has declined to be inducted into our Hall of Fame, we respect his decision and look forward to celebrating his great Cardinal career in other ways." This is really interesting, I think.
Yeah.
Because some people are saying this is a slap in the face of the team. Others, that it's self-awareness and showing respect to the guys who are already there. Brig, where do you fall on this?
Oh, bro. I'm going to look up. I'm going to look up who else is in that St. Louis Cardinals Hall of Fame really quick, because I think that's going to be a relevant data point.
I think it will too. So while you do that real quick, I think that something that went into their decision to include him is the fact that, like he said, he grew up in St. Louis. To me, that was like, okay, I feel like the team wants to do a guy solid who, like, this was his team growing up. He understands the history. He has a real appreciation for this team. And he was on the latest championship team, right?
Sure.
To me, it feels like they wanted to do him a solid, but I think you're going to make a point that I would also make here in just a minute. Do you have it pulled up?
I got it pulled up. So I'm going to start. Started electing, looks like in 2014 was when they began electing people to their, just the club specific Hall of Fame. And a number of these players are also in the Cooperstown Hall of Fame, but
Right.
it starts with Jim Bottomley, Ken Boyer, Sam Breeden, Harry Brechin, I don't know, Lou Brock, great, Jack Buck, Gussie Bosch, Jack Buck as the broadcaster, by the way, for those of you that don't know, Chris Carpenter, Vince Coleman, Charles Comiskey, interesting, Mort Cooper, Dizzy Dean, I always love Dizzy Dean's name, Jim Edmonds, there you go, Kurt Flood, Bob Forsch, Frankie Frisch, Bob Gibson, Chick Haffey, Jesse Haynes, Keith Hernandez, Tom Herr, Whitey Herzog, there's a name for you, Matt Holliday. Really?
So hasn't touched home plate.
Rogers Hornsby, super duh. Jason, that's a name I'm not going to pronounce. It starts with an I. I'm going to give it a shot. Jason, it's either Isringhausen or Iringhausen if the S is
Isringhausen.
Yeah, Isringhausen.
Isringhausen. There you go.
Thanks, buddy. Julian Javier, George Cassell, Max Lanier. This list goes on and on. I'm not going to read them all.
Stan Musial, I'm assuming.
Yeah, Mark McGuire.
Yeah. Okay.
Stan Usual. There's Stan the Man. Branch Rickey.
Okay. Yeah. So think about a lot of the names on that list, and for them to put a guy like David Freese on there,
yeah,
I can see why he's like, no. I am not one of them. Right? To me, that's what it feels like.
So here's an interesting thing I just noticed. Yeah. So first of all, yes, I agree with you. I think it's a I'm not worthy situation. I agree with that. But this is also interesting. There are different selection committees for the Cardinals Hall of Fame. There was the inaugural selection committee in 2014. There's a team selection committee. I don't know what red ribbon means, but apparently it's its own selection committee. And then there is a fan selection committee. So guys are in the Hall of Fame for the St. Louis Cardinals specifically based on fan votes, including Joe Torre, John Tudor, Ted Simmons, Scott Rowland, Mark McGuire, Willie McGee, Tim McCarver, Ray Lankford.
I feel like some of those still make sense, though. You know?
Yeah. Whitey Herzog.
Yeah.
Nope, sorry, he was inaugural.
Okay.
Keith Hernandez, there's one. Anyway, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
But no, I respect his decision, honestly, when it comes down to it. To kind of, like I said, have some self-awareness, to respect the guys around him, just like, I'm not on that level. And I think it's cool. Because I don't think there are a lot. I think most guys have at the very least just enough of an ego to be like, I played in the bigs. Yeah, I belong with those guys.
Yeah,
right?
I think that's true.
And I'm not saying everybody. I'm saying a lot of guys, especially if they played to the point where they're being honored to this level.
But let's look at David Freese for a minute more closely. He spent his entire 11-year career with the same club. That's not true. It looks like there's...
Oh, no, he played somewhere else.
There were 5 years. It was 5 years in St. Louis. So that's a short sample size. In that time, he's a one-time All-Star, 2011 World Series MVP, NLCS MVP, and his career WAR sits at 18.7. Career batting average 27 or 277 rather. So yeah, I think you're right. I think that he's aware that he doesn't fit the same caliber. I'm going to have to agree with that now that I have all the data points.
Cool. I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
baseball family, what do you think? Are we way off base here?
Yeah, do you think it's a slap in the face and disrespectful, or anyway?
Yeah,
let us know. Jump in the mailbag. Okay, we have a couple more things here. First, let's talk about the London series coming up this weekend.
Yeah, baby.
So, Major League Baseball is going to be moving the fences back for the London series. Pretty funny, but
that brings me so much joy.
I know. Well, so they said it's because the seating at London Stadium has been reconfigured. It's not because of what happened, the incident of 2019,
of 2019.
but
the moon landing.
They're not moving it back very far, though.
The UK.
They're not moving it back very far, though. So center field is going to be 392 instead of 385. It'll still have a 16-foot wall, which helps, but how much, really? Let's be honest. The alleys, left center, right center, are increasing to 387 from 382. Foul territory is going to be reduced, so there won't be so it'll look smaller. Is the thing that's kind of funny because the dugouts are going to be repositioned. But I think it's funny they're moving the fences back just a little bit, but they're losing some foul territory, so the field won't look quite so enormous. Because I thought last time it looked like it was bigger than Candlestick, which is huge. And same thing with Oakland.
Enormous.
Yeah. So that'll help visually a little bit. And then down the lines are still going to be 330, which is deeper than Fenway, but what do you do? But this is one thing that I thought was interesting is that no big league stadium is shorter than 400 to straightaway center. I think the shortest is like 400 or 401. You might get a 399 somewhere, but they're all like at or deeper than 400.
Yeah.
So 392 is often, I don't want to say routine fly ball, but pretty easily chased down by most center fielders at 392.
Yeah, you can do that. Yeah, I agree.
Instead, it's going to be a double.
Let's see. The shortest Fenway's 390 to straightaway center.
Is it really? Well, because they have that 420 corner is what I always think of when I think of Fenway.
Weird, that weird triangle.
By the garage.
The Angels 396 to straightaway center, 395 at Chavez Ravine where the Dodgers play.
Wow.
399 at in Pittsburgh, 396 at Petco in San Diego. That's 391 crazy. At Oracle Park in San Francisco. 391.
Wow. But so they have a big wall in center though.
They do. I'm just saying.
Center. But that's crazy. I didn't realize I'd always just assumed, like looking at them, that they're always 400 at least. Or thereabouts. So
let's see. The longest looks Comerica in Detroit has a 420 straightaway center. That's the longest.
That's super deep.
Incredibly deep.
I remember our high school field, because most high school fields don't touch 400 to straightaway center. They'll be like 5. I think was the deepest one we saw outside of our home varsity field, which was 400. And I remember we saw 2 guys hit ropes out to center, and we were just like, that'd be gone at any other park, at any other field. That's gone, but that's a triple here because no center fielder is chasing that down. I don't care how fast you are in high school.
But
I remember seeing 400 there and just be like, that's like a mile. Might as well be.
Yeah,
it's so far. But even with moving these fences back, though, Brig, do you think it's going to be another slugfest? Like, is it just going to be another launch pad?
No, I don't think so. And I think it's because of the teams they're going.
Most likely.
I don't think it has anything to do with the dimensions.
Right. That's what I was going to say. It's not so much the field as it is the offenses that are playing there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I agree.
We could end up with legitimate football scores over there, and they'd be like, "Oh, okay, 2-1. Yeah, we can digest that."
It's the Cubs and the Cardinals. For those of you who don't know, are going to London to play the 2-game London series this weekend. So nothing against Cubs and Cardinals fans, but you know what you have. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it's okay. It's all right.
You don't have the 2019 Red Sox and Yankees going. So,
oh man.
Yeah, no, it's not going to be a slugfest again.
No, it's
But
going to be fun to watch, though.
It will be. It's always fun to watch. For sure. Yeah,
I'll be
great.
tuning in for sure.
Yeah, and especially since it's early in the day.
It's like 10 a.m. Eastern or something.
Well, yeah, so 10:10 on Saturday. No, sorry. It's going to be like 1 or something like that on Saturday Eastern, and then
Sunday,
and then 10 o'clock Eastern on Sunday, because I was like, I'll be up for that on Sunday.
Yeah, for sure.
Wake up in baseball.
Can't beat that.
So, yeah, exactly. All right, let's go talk about the Braves for a minute.
Okay.
The Braves have been doing a lot of things right lately, but they did not do this right. This was bad form. Infielder Charlie Culberson was supposed to catch the first pitch from his dad on Father's Day, but they designated him for assignment just a few hours before the game. And now I did see somebody say, like, well, at least the Culbersons are local to Atlanta, so it's not like the parents flew in from, like, Colorado, or Texas. So they're just, like, driving down the street. But still,
not
I don't
helpful.
feel like that lessens the blow at all, because that's feel the room a little bit. I understand, like, it's business, but at the same time, though, like,
there
maybe
are
do it on
optics.
Monday.
Yeah, there are optics, and you do have to consider those. And this is a bad taste in my mouth. I'm not happy about this.
Yeah.
I wonder how Braves fans are feeling. They probably, most of them probably don't care. Culberson's not like outperforming anybody. That's why they DFA'd him. So
right.
It's not, I don't think anybody's going to outrightly care, but like Braves fans, is this sitting sour in your mouth too? Like, are we crazy because we're not as emotionally involved with the organization's winning? What's going on here?
Yeah, so a little more details on it. He was brought up from AAA Gwinnett on May 19th, but hasn't played in any game since he got called up. He made his big league debut in 2012, so it's not like this was like his debut or anything like that, but he just hasn't played, and they were just kind of like, hasn't played at all. We got to get rid of him. But what it was a move to bring up catcher Chadwick Tromp from Gwinnett. Sean Murphy has been injured. He has a hamstring injury, but at the same time, though, and that was Saturday, so I guess maybe it was a little more urgent because you got to have two catchers on that roster. But Sean Murphy is not going on the injured list, and that's why they ended up having to DFA Culberson.
Got it.
I don't know. It's it's touchy, right? Super touchy.
Yeah, I think so.
So I don't know. Anyway, well, let's go on to do a fantasy update, and then we'll talk about one more thing before we go. Okay, Week 11 matchups. Let's start from the bottom of the list like we usually do. Devastation Incorporated, that is Mike, our listener participant, going up against Harrisburg Charlies, that is John. Mike won this one. Devastation Incorporated won 558 to 373. His top performer was Matt Olson with 89 points. Harrisburg Charlies, their top performer was Kyle Tucker with 50 points. And then going on up to the next one, we have Big League Chupacabra. That is Jewel, my co-host with the Seattle Baseball Taylor podcast, going up against Jason, not another fantasy team. He is a co-host of the Philly Baseball Taylor podcast. Jewel won this one 629 to 452.
Whoa.
Yeah. Again, Jewel's top performer is Lamont Wade Jr. with 74 points. Nathaniel Lowe was Jason's with 73. Brig, you ended up losing this week to Burns Turner Overdrive. That's Tori Brig. For those of you who don't know, has the best name in the league with Brigor Mortis.
Thank you. I don't think that's true, but I appreciate it.
I love that name. I love it. And I've thought of my team name for next year. I'm going to hold that one in my pocket until we get there. But yeah, I already have my team name for next year. So Burns Turner Overdrive won that one. Tori won that one 554 to 458. He had Christian Walker as his top performer with 101 points. Brig, your top performer was Ty France. He's been playing well lately, by the way.
For sure.
I'm sure you've noticed.
It wasn't Mookie Betts.
No, he wasn't even in your top three.
I know, and Ryan
you had Will Smith
got hurt.
Had Will Smith and Jonah Heim rounding out your top three. Jonah Heim,
Yeah.
legit all-star.
Jonah Heim's awesome. Ryan Mountcastle's been hurt. That's been killing me.
Oh, yeah, that sucks. And then the last matchup, that's me, Julio Think You Are, against Denise, the host of our North Chicago Baseball Together podcast. She is Grace Under Fire. She won 558 to 435. Her top performer was actually not Frederick Freeman this week. He was number 3. Her top performer was Ozzy Albies with 68 points. And my top performer was JT Realmuto, who was the top performer in the league this week after hitting for the cycle with 111 points.
Whoa!
And then everybody just fell right off a cliff after that because I got smoked. But I fell to 4-7 this week. Denise is 7-4. Brig, you are also 4-7, as is Tori. Jewel is leading the league at 9-2. And Jason is 7-4. Mike is 8-3. And John is in the basement at 1-10. How about this? If I lose 2 more in a row, I'm changing my team name from Julio Think You Are to next year's team name.
Really?
If I lose 3 in a row, I gotta dump the team name. I've decided.
Dang.
So
okay,
I'm gonna do it. Well, before we get out of here, let's tell you about Versus Game. Baseball family,
yes.
We are always asking what you think about the topics we bring up on the show. We've done it a couple times today already. Now there's a quick and easy way for you to share your thoughts with us. We've partnered with Versus Game to bring you games where you can actually make money from participating in polls and trivia for funsies. That's right. If you're on the winning side of a poll or get a trivia question right, you can win actual, real dollar bills money. Big facts. You can play
big old fatty fat facts.
You can play for free or buy ticket bundles to play against other listeners and Versus Game users. So head over to btpod.onversus.com on your mobile browser because that's the way it's set up best. And sign up to play polls and trivia games. That's btpod.onversus.com to sign up and play Versus Game with us. You'll love it. And
it's awesome.
We're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to get in and talk about the Philadelphia Phillies Mount Rushmore.
Welcome, baseball family. We're really excited to get into this Phillies Mount Rushmore conversation. We really like doing these. We want you to weigh in, by the way. We usually tell you that at the end, but at this point, you need to be aware that if we get this wrong, we expect to hear about it in the comments on YouTube, okay?
And also in the mailbag, link in the description.
That's right, mailbag and link in the description. You're good at this, Brad. Okay, baseball family. The Philadelphia Phillies have been around since forever. They literally started as a franchise in 1883. So trying to put their Mount Rushmore together is not as easy as you might think. All right. So go with us on that. They still play baseball in Philadelphia under the same name. That's 141 seasons total for those of you that do actuaries at home. The 141 total seasons playing Major League Baseball. They have a winning record. That's not true. They're sitting below 500, actually. They've won 1 million games and they lost 1,000,001 games. Let's go with that. They're sitting at a 473 win percentage. They have had, in 141 years, 15 playoff appearances. They have won 8 pennants and 2 world championships.
That first one was in 1980.
They have also gone under the name the Philadelphia Quakers and the Philadelphia Phillies. Brad, tell us where the name comes from.
Well, so I actually want to. So sometimes I feel kind of silly being a Mariners fan just because it's just every year, just mired in losing 20-year playoff drought, right? And didn't make the playoffs till 95, and only a couple times. I kind of all of a sudden feel, after learning all this stuff about the Phillies today, I feel a little bit more like a kindred spirit with Phillies fans.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why Jason and I get along so well. There's just a spiritual connection there. Something like that. Anyway.
That's awesome.
I don't mean that maliciously or anything. It's just I get it.
Yeah.
Right?
You do. Yeah. Me, I don't get it.
Anyway, this is where the Phillies name comes from. Brig mentioned they were originally known as the Philadelphia Quakers. This is very early years. They eventually changed the name to the Philadelphians,
Mm-hmm.
which somebody being a Philadelphian was commonly shortened to being Phillies, or the Philadelphians are shortened to the Phillies. But here's an interesting one for you, Brig. In the early 1940s, they wanted to change the moniker to the Blue Jays. They wore a Blue Jay patch on their uniforms for a few seasons, but everybody just kept calling them the Phillies. And then eventually it was like, all right, forget it. We're the Phillies. So,
wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, I had no idea. I didn't know that. That is all according to teamnameorigin.com. Yeah, I didn't know that there was a potential for them to have changed their name to the Blue Jays, and maybe that's part of where the Blue Jays name comes from for Toronto.
Could be.
I don't know. I do not know.
We'll let you know when we get there. We haven't already. Anyway, all right. So, baseball family, we're going to put together the top 4 names that you cannot have a conversation about the Phillies as an entire franchise without mentioning. This is according to Brad and I. We do our research independently. We do not share stats or opinions as we move forward, and we do not ask each other for any advice on any of this. We just go at it totally independently. So sometimes we fight, and that's kind of fun. But usually we overlap, and we always overlap.
And also that ends up getting a little bit physical as well. If you go back and watch the Dodgers,
yeah, that's my fault. For those of you wondering, I'm the physically aggressive one. Yes. And I'm still sorry, and I'm also not sorry. It was,
and
wonderful.
Also it's still hilarious.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, for those of you wondering, that is on the Dodgers Mount Rushmore video, and it is worth a watch. Okay, so Brad, why don't you go first and tell us who you think, and this is in no particular order, by the way.
Right.
We're not ranking them. We're just including the 4 we think you have to include. So, Brad, why don't you go first?
Okay, this first guy, get into my John Gruden voice. This guy. He is a Hall of Famer, Obvi. 3-time MVP. I feel like that's a lot in baseball, getting 3 MVPs.
Yeah.
12-time All-Star, 10-time Gold Glover, 6-time Silver Slugger. He was on the 1980 World Series team, and he was the MVP of that World Series. Do you know who this is yet, Brig?
Of course.
Of course you do. This is one Mike Schmidt. Career WAR 106.8, 548 career home runs, 268 batting average, career batting average, which is interesting because that was like really low back then. But at the same time, though, you look at I gotta get to his OPS because he had 2 seasons where he was over 1,000 for his OPS, led the league in OPS
total
5 times with a career OPS of 908. That's pretty dang good.
It's pretty
dang good. Who you are. Yeah, it's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
He's one of those guys where, like, I remember, so I grew up, the Phillies to me were like the 93 Phillies, right? Like the early 90s Phillies with like Kruk, Dalton, exactly. Dykstra, Mitch Williams. I'll never forget Mitch Williams, Schilling, those guys. But then when I learned about the 80s, like the 1980 Phillies who won the World Series and learned about Mike Schmidt, I was like, oh, that dude was legit. Like I often discount guys before the 90s saying that I don't think they could play in today's game, but I feel like Schmidt could.
Oh, yeah. I totally agree.
He could hang and he would do really well in today's game. But being part of the first Phillies World Series team, being the best player on that team and being the best player for several years on that team and having his place in Phillies history, I think he's a super nominee for the Mount Rushmore for the Phillies.
Yeah. He's the first one on my list as well. Super duh. For all the reasons you said. And one of my very favorite things to look into is how long did they play with the club? And he spent his entire 18 years as a Philly. And there were some lean years, right? So,
right. A lot of them.
I think that a lot of them were lean, and he was the kind of the consistent one, right? One of the most consistent guys on the club the entire time. So for that reason, he's my super dud. Gotta include him no matter what.
Well, and I think one more thing that you need to give him credit for is that he played in 100 games in every season except for his first and his last.
Whoa,
To
that's
never
awesome.
have played less than 100 games is a really big deal. And I know it's different in the 70s and 80s than it is now because guys get Sunday off or whatever, you know.
Yeah, right. It's different.
But even then, though, like to play 108 games 12 years into his career, because, you know, obviously there was an injury somewhere in there that sidelined him. And I think that's a big deal for a guy to be healthy that long and still go out there and play every single day, especially given the training and care that they had back then. Like we've seen videos of John Kruk talking about going to the training room, like, yeah, we just drink beers, smoke heaters.
Yeah. Yeah. Fire down a Twinkie.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly right. Shotgun and Twinkies before my fourth at bat in the game.
Exactly.
But
yeah.
Anyway. Yeah. So,
yeah.
right,
It wasn't elite care like it is now. That's
no,
for sure.
Definitely not.
No.
Okay, go ahead, Brig, with your next guy.
All right, I'm going to move on to this guy's a pitcher. He's a pitcher. He's also in the Cooperstown Hall of Fame. He won the Cy Young Award 4 times. He also won the Triple Crown as a pitcher. He's a 10-time All-Star, 2 times World Series appearance, Gold Glove, and he also had an ERA title. He spent 15 years as a Philly, though he did bounce around a little bit, but he spent 15 years as a Philly. And his career WAR 90.2, career ERA 3.22, and that was across 741 games. He started 709 of them. This is Steve Carlton.
So he is not on mine. He came really close, but he is not because I feel like I could only include one pitcher on mine. He was not my guy.
Interesting.
Solid pick, though. I feel like he absolutely belongs. So I couldn't put him over anyway. Go ahead, Brig. Sorry.
No. That's okay. That's
he would be my. I think he would be my runner-up.
Okay. That means that your runner-up's probably going to be, or my runner-up's probably going to be on your list.
I don't know. Maybe we'll get there.
That usually happens. All right. I dropped my pen. You go while I pick this up.
Okay. So my next guy, I was good. I'm gonna save him for later. I'm gonna go with this next guy instead. This guy's a 6-time All-Star. He was on the 2008 World Series team. He has a career WAR of 64.5, 4-time Silver Slugger. I don't hear Phillies fans, and by that I mean the 2 that I know, Jason and Tori.
Excellent.
Talk about that 2008 World Series team. I never hear them talk about that team without mentioning this guy, or even really the Phillies without mentioning Chase Utley.
Yeah, right.
And so he spent 13 years in Philly. Absolutely his prime in Philly, right?
Yeah.
He spent his last few years in LA. 4 years as a Dodger, but he's a Philly. He is absolutely 100% a Philadelphia Philly.
Yeah.
Not a Hall of Famer, but I feel like part of that is because his impact on the team was not, I don't know, like you felt it more as a Phillies fan probably, and I think that the team felt it more than what the national audience would have felt, right? I think is a big part of it. But I mean, he had solid career in 2006. He led the league in runs scored with 131. He finished his career with a 275 batting average, which, like I said, with Schmidt was like a little bit low for when he played, but he was starting to get into the beginning. Like I think toward the end of his career, starting to get into the beginning of the launch era or the launch angle era, where batting averages are dropping, but he finished with an 823 OPS, which I think is respectable.
It is.
So, but overall, like I said, I think that his impact was felt mostly within the organization, and that's what carried that team to the 2008 World Series. And to me, that is enormous.
Yeah. So, as predicted, he's my runner-up. For all the reasons you said all the ho-humming you did about his statistics is the reason I could not justify including him.
No, I get that too.
It's hard to quantify X factor, even though I do also place a great deal of importance on X factor and clubhouse presence and that
and it's
kind of
recognizable,
stuff. So,
even when it's unrecognizable. So I understand that.
It is. Yeah. So I don't know that, but yeah, solid pick. I totally agree. And it was really hard not to include him because I hear his name constantly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've both done 2 now. Let's go ahead. Let's take a quick break. When we get back, we have 2 left each to go through. Welcome back, baseball family. We are here. We're going to wrap up our Phillies Mount Rushmore. We each have 2 selections left. I led off last segment. So Brig, take it away with your next nominee.
All right. I'm going to do the thing I always do, and I'll explain it in a minute. But first, let me tell you about this ball player, okay? In the Hall of Fame at Cooperstown, 3 Triple Crown, 5-time ERA title. Yeah, I have another pitcher, Brad, and he's really good.
Okay.
Career WAR 119.3. Career ERA 2.56.
That's outstanding.
Yeah. 696 games, 600 starts, 32 saves. Figure that out. Spent 20 years playing Major League Baseball, and only 8 of them in Philadelphia. But his impact in Philadelphia was astronomical, including MVP voting, etc.
Is it Roy Halladay?
It's not.
Okay. Go ahead. Who is it?
It's not. I couldn't justify Roy Halladay.
I know. I wanted to, but I couldn't.
I wanted to, but I couldn't either. This guy's name officially is Grover, though he goes often by Pete. It's Pete Alexander.
Ah, okay.
He started playing in Philadelphia in 1911 when he was 24.
Nice.
This is what I do, though. I'm a purist. I got to go all the way back and find the guy who maybe helped craft the franchise a little bit. And this guy feels like one of those puzzle pieces that started it all. And with those statistics, you can't tell me that a deep dive analysis of the Phillies team is going to be able to exclude him. Sorry.
You're probably right.
You can't do it.
You're probably right. Yeah.
Even though I know, and I get a lot of crap about this when I do it, that nobody knows these players' names. Nobody.
Tungsten Armor Houlihan.
Yeah, exactly. I told the Braves when we did the Braves one, I put Warren Spahn on my list, and I got so many comments. I live in Braves country about nobody knowing who that is, and I'm like, well, that's your problem because let me just
learn about your team.
Yeah. Did 7 minutes of research. No. Anyway, go look up Pete Alexander, Grover Pete Alexander, because he is a terrific ball player. And I know there's dead ball arguments versus live ball. I got it, but I just can't argue with the pitching. You just can't.
I dig it. I like it. That's a good one. That's solid.
Thank you.
So do you mind if I move on to the next one? Is that okay?
I wish you would, actually. I'm very excited.
All right. Very excited. Okay, next guy is actually a pitcher, 4-time All-Star, NLCS MVP, World Series MVP of the 2008 World Series. I know, I'm not going back very far, but I feel like a franchise that has so few World Series, I think that they're going to recognize the guys who had significant roles on those teams more than anybody. And so that was one of the reasons I went with this guy. And I remember that 2008 team being like, that dude is the reason. Without him, it's not happening, which is why he was the NLCS MVP, World Series MVP, none other than Colbert Michael Hamels.
Yes.
I've never been a Phillies fan. I've never been anybody who's cheered for the Phillies, but I always cheered for Cole Hamels when he was a Philly because I loved watching him pitch.
Totally amazing.
Loved it.
I agree.
Wasn't the same in Texas. Wasn't the same after that, right? But man, as a Philly, the dude was dominant. And then you had Halladay and Cliff Lee with him later. I called those guys the Holy Trinity. I was like, man, there's no stopping that team. And sure enough, there was. But they felt unstoppable with the three of them. And Cole Hamels anchoring that trio. It was amazing. It was unreal. Yeah. So for me, mostly it comes down to remembering the role that Cole Hamels played on that World Series team and that team. And like as with the pitching staff for those several years, because he was a Philly for 10 years, but his peak was 08 to like 2012, right?
Yeah.
07, 2012, because he was a all-star in 07. 08 was the World Series year, and then 2012 he was an all-star, and then he wasn't an all-star again until 2016. But no, I felt like with like I said, the way he led that pitching staff and led that team to the World Series, you've gotta put him on there. So
I agree. I love that. No, I don't blame you at all. All right, my last pick. You ready?
Yeah. I have a feeling it's gonna be the same guy.
You think so?
Just a hunch.
You want to play rock, paper, scissors?
No, you go ahead. You go ahead. I don't know that it will, but I have a hunch.
Okay. My guy was an MVP, 3-time All-Star, also part of the 2008 World Series crew, because I need to give a nod there, right? So here we go.
Right, yeah.
Silver Slugger Award, NLCS MVP, Major League Player of the Year, Home Run Derby champion, and Rookie of the Year. He's a first baseman. It's Ryan Howard.
Ryan Howard?
Mm-hmm.
It's not right.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
No.
That's who I'm going with, Ryan Howard. I think he injected the right amount of juice into that clubhouse at just the right time that helps set up the 2008 World Series. Comes in, wins Rookie of the Year. He makes it to the All-Star team in 2006 and starts to build up, lays the groundwork for the 2008 World Series.
His highs were really, really, really high, like really high. Yeah, astronomically high. But man,
his lows
were
they were abysmal.
Death Valley low.
Yeah, but because of his ability to support the team during the 2008 run and the years leading up to that, I got to give it to Ryan Howard. I just have to. And I can't pick another pitcher. I can't let myself. That's the problem.
Can't. Yeah, I get that. Okay, so I have to pick another 2008 World Series guy.
Okay.
But it's not who you think. He is the winningest manager in the history of the Phillies organization.
I had the same thought. Yeah.
Charlie Manuel. And this is the thing that's really interesting is that, like, I know Danny Ozarks has the highest winning percentage among managers, but he only managed the team for 7.5 years. Charlie Manuel was there for 8.5 years. And man, there was way more good than bad during those years. When it got bad there at the end. I understand. I get it. He was
sure.
That's the life of a manager. You're hired to get fired. I get it. That's how it works. But man,
that's right.
The Charlie Manuel years were formidable because, like, think about this. You've got in 08, you've got the World Series champs. In 09, you've got an NL pennant, but then you've also got dang it, where'd it go? It won't let me get to it. But anyway, you've got solid playoff runs in there as well. You've got lost the NLDS in 07, which granted was the first round back then. But then you had another appearance in the NLCS in 2010, and then a battle in the NLDS in 2011. That's 5 years in a row where you're making the playoffs. That doesn't happen
of the
with
8
every team.
Yeah, no, it's true.
It doesn't happen. It's tough to get into the playoffs, especially then where there was only 8 teams out of 30 getting in. It's a big deal. Yeah. And I think that Charlie Manuel deserves it because of the success that he brought to that team, and bringing them their second World Series is a really big deal. Just having been around for that long and only having 2 World Series titles means a whole lot.
Yep.
So that's why I put Charlie Manuel on there. So.
I had the same thought. I grappled with that same thing.
Did you?
And honestly, there's
Yeah.
so much give and take on these, right? For 141 years of baseball history, any of these names could get taken off. Any of them could get added. I think Schmidt is the only one that is an absolute must-have, no-brainer.
Right. Yes, I agree.
Other than that,
so we do this again in 10 years. Who on this current team? Is there anybody on this current team that you would put on there?
Yes, that's what I was hoping we were gonna get there. Let me just. Do you have one?
Not yet. Give me a couple more years, and I might have somebody.
Why can't you do it now?
I've got to. I want to see another like postseason Bryce Harper before I put him on there.
Oh, it's not Bryce Harper for me.
Then that's it. That's who would it be for you?
It would be Real Muto.
That's solid. Yeah,
it would be JT Real Muto. And I do need more time. You're absolutely right. Like I need another 5 to
because at this point he spent more time in Miami than he has in Philly still, right?
Exactly. Well, it's 5-5 as of if you count this season, it's 5-5.
Okay.
But I just think you cannot have the current Phillies without JT Real Muto. You just can't.
I think you're right. Yeah. Yeah, I think he is the better option. Yeah, like they say, like Bryce Harper says all the time, or at least he has for a few years, said that they call him QB1, and there's a reason for that.
Exactly.
Which I think is a really big compliment.
Yeah, from a guy who's brother Harper. Yeah, when he compliments you, you probably earned it 3 times over.
Yeah, I agree.
Anyway, I would put JT. His career WAR is 31.8 right now. Okay, it's just gonna get better. He's just gonna get better. The end. Anyway.
Yeah. I think you're right. That's a solid pick. Yeah, I think that is the guy who would go on. I think you're right. I always forget about him for some reason, which is weird because I love him to death, and I'm not as a catcher. You'd think that he'd be like my guy, but
yeah, you think so.
Anyway, but baseball family, let us know what you think. Go ahead, Brig.
You cut me off, Brad. It's probably because my internet's lagging a little bit. But baseball family, check it out. If you dig what we're doing here, you can jump on Patreon. That's one of the ways you can support us. We have a lot of tiers of support with a lot of different perks, and that is really exciting. Go jump on the Patreon and figure it out. And I cut that short because what we actually need from you right now is a different show of support. Jump on YouTube and go push the subscribe button and hit the bell for notifications, because that is where we are going to be most present, most available for you, and it helps us the most. So if you'll do that for us, that would be a huge, huge deal. That's the best way to support us right this minute.
Absolutely. You're spot on, Brig, for sure. And if you would like another way to support us while supporting your mouth, hop on ChinookSeedery.com. Use code BTPOD at checkout to save 10% on your order and support the show. You don't spend anything extra. You actually save money and get the best seeds ever while supporting the Baseball Together podcast. With that, baseball family, thank you so much for joining us for the Phillies Mount Rushmore. We will catch you next week.